I'd like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Clemency if she would please lead us in our prayer and pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, please be with us this morning. Guide us and protect us as we make the decisions that we feel best for the students, the faculty, staff of Levy County. In your heavenly name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board members, do I hear a motion to adopt our agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to welcome everyone here, and before we hear public comments, I'd certainly like to especially welcome Ms. Tammy Bull. Welcome, Tammy. Tammy is our newly elected board member, and we are so happy to have her, and we'll look forward to her joining our board in November. So, thank you. Are there any public comments? Yes, ma'am.
I think this is where I would talk.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, please come up. You're welcome to come to our podium and introduce yourself.
Right up here?
Yes, please do come right up to our mic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jade Anderson. I have a 6-year-old at Joyce Bullock, and I just wanted to talk on, pose a proposal, I guess, on how we can keep my son and other children in a traditional classroom setting. I would say he probably missed about 10 days of being really sick last year, and that's temperature. We shouldn't send him to school. That would have been double had I have taken him out anytime he had a little cold. The superintendent put a letter out that if the kids have a sore throat or a cough, they could possibly be sent home just for having a symptom of COVID. And it's just not practical. I stay home with my kids. A lot of people don't have that as an option. Excuse me, I'm nervous.
Okay.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you. And it's not an option for some parents. That's probably one of the main reasons they chose option 1, is because they can't stay home with them. And to do that multiple times throughout the year, because Susan has it 1 week. They stay home for 2 weeks. Next, when they come back, Tracy has it. So now we're out for another 2 weeks. So would it be an option to me voluntarily give my son like an antibody test to prove, that he's already had the COVID or has already been exposed to it, and then we don't have to take him out of school every time he has a cold?
The health department, I think, can respond so that we have our health department partners here. If your son has an antibody test, with the data that we have right now, we can only say that those antibodies are effective for 90 days.
Okay, so they could re-get it, or
So, and there are a lot of antibody tests out there. There's a lot of cross-reactivity. There's not a lot of them that are true antibody
Okay.
tests. So we're not really using antibody
Confident.
tests very much just because of that reason.
okay. I just wanted to pitch that idea, because, school really is the only safe place for some kids. I consider myself an active parent and I'm involved with my kids, and that's just not the case for everyone.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming. We're glad that you want your children in school. So that's fabulous. Thank you so very much. And thank you for coming and addressing the board and speaking to everyone. We admire that.
You had no reason to be nervous. You did a
Right, you did a great job.
It's all good.
It's great. Thank you. Do we have any other public comments that were sent in? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to our safe school assessments. Mr. Weber and Mr. Gore.
Good morning, board. Good morning,
Good morning.
superintendent, and those that are here in the boardroom. We're going to do a split this morning on this. Coach Gore is going to be officially running this part of our program December the 1st. He's going to begin the introduction and give you some background information. And then after he finishes the intro, I will pick it up on the FSAT side. Once I get through, we'll ask for approval this morning so that we can then submit everything to Safe Schools in Tallahassee. And that's going to be a great moment when we finish this all up today. So Coach Gore, we're glad you're with us. You're doing a great job. Keep it up for a part-time Gator.
Thank you, Hey, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
I just want to take a few minutes, just a brief second, and thank Mr. Edison and the board for trusting me in this position. And I want to thank Dennis. Dennis, as we all know, is a great man, and there's a lot that's going on that people don't know, that he's just a great man, and I appreciate his guidance and leadership in this position. He was my JV basketball coach way back in the day, and so he knows the abilities he's working with here. No, but anyways, thank you, Dennis. Just get into this FSAT real quick. All 11 schools have completed the safety security assessment procedures. That is the behavior threat assessment procedures. It just means we're compliant. That's something Dennis took care of back in June when I wasn't available on the job, and he took care of that. He could probably give you more information, but we received a letter from the state. We are in compliance with all those procedures as it relates to threat assessments. All 11 schools have completed the safety and security and COVID-19 training. That's something me and Dennis did together. We went around to every school and met with staffs around the county and had trainings with those schools. All 11 schools have finalized their FSAT report by August 21st. That's a big one. That's hats off to administration for getting that done. And I had the privilege of being involved in probably 2 or 3 schools throughout that process. That's something, again, Dennis had been working with those schools during the summer and to get this finalized for everybody. And all 11 schools have threat assessment manuals that are currently updated, and we worked on that with them. Flipping over, I'm gonna go on the school needs for improving safety and security in 2021. Dennis did summer walkthroughs with administration. I was involved with probably 3 schools that's on the list here, but year one, as me and Dennis has discussed, year one, the Hardin grant was about $192,000. Year 2 was $92,000. I think this year it's somewhere around 76, I believe, $1,000. So, there's obviously some needs there with the funds getting cut more and more and more. That's going to be some difficult decisions there for us. Again, I just want to touch that all schools have submitted, and we are ready to rock. And soon as this is, this board meeting's over with and if it's approved, we'll go ahead and submit that with the state, and we'll be good to go. That's it for me. Dennis will go over the FSAT form if you guys have any questions for me about anything that I went over.
The RAVE application,
Mm-hmm.
of course, all last year, that's still in place, and
Yes,
board
sir.
members will still be contacted via text if all that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And
Factors of Alyssa's law.
Yeah.
That went into effect, it goes into effect next year. The rate that meets those requirements.
And we've got good, I will say, Wi-Fi coverage on our campuses, so
I would say it's better than what we used to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, we were out of school yesterday. That was a concern, and I was checking with my phone, and I had a reception. So I'm sure
I did have a conversation with
Yes.
both of these guys to make sure that our new staff
Yeah.
is oriented, ready for that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cedar Key got coverage?
Well, that's kind of where I'm going with to make sure. So, and especially like, on the inside of that auditorium building where, if you're not connected to the Wi-Fi, that's the only way you're going to get any type of signal out, and how that works inside that main administration building because of being concrete block and everything. So,
To meet Alyssa's law, we do have one more year to figure that out, as you probably know. There's going to be a few wrinkles in there that we're going to have to get ironed out throughout the process.
how close are we on fencing to your keepers?
Or should we, I mean, I
That's-
know there's some. We're waiting on, I mean,
It's secure.
Yes.
To start with, everything is secure, locked up. We had a couple of issues with some posts from the aluminum fencing, some gates on the chain link to make it as perfect as we want to make it, as far as easier access, panic hardware. But as far as being secure, we've got everything secure, everything's 6 foot perimeter.
Okay.
And we just got to do a little tweaking to finish up.
And to play into that, I was down there yesterday doing a drill, and they were putting those front gates on that was already secure, but they were putting those front gates on that you were.
And I also would like to say that we, as you may or may not know, did not have enough of the grant money to pay the contractors to complete these projects, so it fell on the maintenance department. And some of our resources that we had spent previously on material, before all of this happened, we acquired some material because we knew there'd probably be a shortage or so our maintenance department had to do all the chain link work at Cedar Key because we didn't have the funding. And that also hinders us on the back end on some of the stuff that needed to be done at the school. So
Gotcha.
just a little background.
I appreciate that.
Adam, on the needs, it says install cameras on, I think, Chief of Middle High School. And I know that it had been addressed that they did have cameras, maybe they were working or not working. So do we have cameras there?
I was told we do, but as far as install, I know this is what I know. I mean, obviously I was dean there last year. There's a select few at the high school, what I call the high school side. The interior of the middle school had them. They were installed on the outside, but I don't think we've finished the process of completely hooking those all up. But yes,
And who hooks those up?
I would have to defer to,
I can address part of that.
Yeah, I think
Bill
more.
also was looking at Ms. Brookings, but
Uh-huh.
there was a point in time when some of the cameras had been installed, but we did not have open slots in the network infrastructure.
Okay.
So we have that now and it's working or what?
I will have to check because one of the big rounds of E-rate money that we had in this last year was to purchase and get in some things that were going to be phased in and out. So I can check that and get that.
Okay, because I think that was addressed last school year. Okay, thank you.
I've got one more question.
Okay.
With Nature Coast and Whispering Winds, and maybe David, you can answer this. They don't let, not that they would or anything, but they don't in a timely fashion do something that's on this list that we identify. What is our recourse to work with them? Where are we, what is our responsibility with that?
The ultimate issue is if we believe that there's a health and safety emergency on campus, that we've got the legal right to step in and close the school. Short of that, which is a fairly high standard.
Right.
I would say that we're working with them to try to get them into compliance.
Gotcha.
For example, they're required to have somebody on campus, a guardian type nature on campus when kids are there. If they do not, then they can be shut down.
Gotcha.
Now, they have entered into contract with the sheriff's department to do that, but you know, when you're thinking of Miami-Dade, which have hundreds of charters,
Right.
if they choose not to do that, then they can be shut down within the statute.
I understand. Just wanted to make sure what our legal obligation was and making sure that we're, you know, we've worked well with them. So just want to continue that route. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Let me also mention to the board, our superintendent and those that are here, and that was an excellent question in regards to how are they doing in compliance. They also have to, and they have completed the threat assessment procedure review. And once that is signed and sent to Safe Schools, and then the letter comes back, that means everything that we're doing, they also have to follow those procedures. For example, Nature Coast has been kind of trailing a little bit in regards to fencing. Well, that's going to change, and they're going to start that fencing and get that caught up. So now that they have their threat assessment and everything's in alignment, now they have to be in compliant, and they've got that time frame. Okay, so they've been working with us, and process is kind of picking up speed a little bit.
Good.
All right, so I'm not going to bog you down with the FSAT because it's like 40 pages, and we've got a lot to do here this morning. If you can go to the page that deals with efficiency and effectiveness, I'm going to just highlight, this all comes through the FSAT, so I'll highlight some important areas and then touch on specific the FSAT, and then ask that approval would be given so that we can make that final submission. In regards to of course, our top one would be health and safety planning. We have done the COVID training for all faculty and staff. As an example, board member, superintendent, due to Safe Schools, we are now doing our active threat drills where all students remain in their seats for social distancing. It would be different if it's a real deal. It's an actual lockdown. Then we're going to go to the hard corner. We're going to go to that safe corner. But this month, we'll be all done on the 31st with all 11 schools. Everyone has remained seated in their seats in the classroom. And then what we're doing, Coach is doing it along with me. We go into the classroom after the drill, and we ask them specifically, if this was the real deal, can you show us where is that hard corner? Where's the safe corner? And elementary, middle, high school students all have been able to share with us that information. So, and they fully understand how important it is for us to have that health and safety plan in place. Discipline policies and code of student conduct, that's in place. And all district schools have that code of student conduct. School climate and community outreach, we have that in place, an early warning system, that's also in alignment. So I'm just taking you through, and you can kind of dig down and see all the bullet points. If you want to turn, go to safety programs and the curricula. The district fosters a positive learning climate and culture. One of the things that I've added this semester, so that Coach will really be able to roll with this in December, we've been visiting all of our schools when there's no drills, anything like that going on, just to kind of get a touch on what's the culture, how's the climate. And I got to just report and say it's been incredible working with administration, working with faculty and staff. Even though we're in the midst of all of this, it is amazing to be able to pick up the climate and the culture on our campuses. So safety is definitely at a high level in all of our schools. Facilities and equipment, temporary shout out, temporary by the way, to Breeze. They're doing a phenomenal job with the facilities and making sure we're in alignment and that we're working to make sure everyone has the safety procedures in place. And so that's been a real big, and I want to tell you, thank you for what you all are doing on those campuses, and faculty and staff are in alignment with that, and students, there's been no big rift. It's been difficult but there's no rift in regards to what the expectations are. Transportation, we know there's been adjustments there, and Mr. Masters and his team, they've been willing to make the adjustments. For example, out at Cedar Key, we wanted to kind of create a better spacing so that we don't have issues with students jammed up, and he was able to do that with administration. Same with Ronson Middle High Elementary, and so transportation's been on board. All right, if you want to turn with me to the actual assessment, I think did you get a copy of this one? I may not have put that one in there because it is so deep and detailed. Let me just highlight a couple things for you. This is the actual document that's on the website. For example, and I think by all means, you need to be able to know, for example, that we are in compliance with all the drills. We have 8 schools done right now. We have 3 left. We'll do Williston Middle, Williston Elementary on Friday, and then Joyce Bullock on the 31st. All of our active threat drills for this month will be completed and will be in compliance. In fact, I heard from some other districts like, y'all gonna have those all done in 1 month? I said, absolutely. Even though we only started on the 17th, we're gonna be in compliance because that's the requirement with the FSAT, okay? So our drills are right on point, and Coach has been doing a great job, for example, and I think as leaders in this district, you need this kind of information. We split yesterday. I went out to Yankeetown, he went to Cedar Key, and we handled everything. He's good to go. He's managing that, and there's been an agreement with faculty, staff, administration that, hey, we can do this, and the new person stepping in is going to do a great job. Another big piece of the FSAT, and I've highlighted it, youth mental health awareness and assistance. We are still training where training needs to be. We'll do that either online through Dr. Hall, or we can still do it on professional development days where we're doing youth mental health training for our faculty and staff and paras, and want to include our substitutes, okay? So that's another big piece that we've covered. Coach Gore covered school safety and security training. We've already completed all of that. We did that back in July when we went to all the schools so that all schools are up to date with the safety and security training that's required by the state. Also, as all of you know, and superintendent mentioned this, every school has the school resource officer, and they're working close with us and administration. Let me see if there's one other piece. I did make a copy of this because it comes right out of the FSAT, and you should have this, I believe, district best practices assessment, and it's the executive summary. There was a lot of time spent back in June writing all of this and putting it in the hard copy document so that when we send it to Safe Schools, they'll be able to see that we're in compliance with Senate Bill 7026 and Senate Bill 7030. And I've highlighted the goal of the Safety Act and Safety Commission is for every district to have a clearly directed safety and security program. We have that, and Mr. Edison has assisted us in making sure that we're in compliance and we're working diligently in regards to the requirements of both the Safety Act 7026 and the Safety Commission 7030. And then you can also see on the second page, and I'm not going to take the time to go read all of this, but it's in the actual FSAT positive school measures on what we've been able to do. As an example, another moment there for Breeze, last one by the way, Breeze. I was at Yankeetown yesterday. I really like the way that they have their entrance now set up and the buzz-in system and the ramp, outstanding. All the fencing across that campus is secure. I actually did a drill last spring where I found an opening. Nothing against our maintenance, but I was able to slip in. That's all changed now. You can't get on that campus off that back area. So outstanding job with maintenance and all that you all are doing. Conclusion and recommendations to the school board. I've put that in writing on the document, And we're presenting to you this morning that we are ready to submit all of our schools. Big congratulations to all administrators. They're all done. They've completed their documents, a lot of work, a lot of hours, and they've submitted their FSAT. And so once we hear that we're approved at the district level, we'll submit our district FSAT document, and then wait to hear back from Safe Schools, Damian Kelly, and his team of leaders. So we're ready to adventure into the first semester, and I think it's going to be a great year, and looking forward to continue to work with Coach Gore and the entire district. And success is right in front of us, and safety and security. I like what was said at several conferences, and Coach Gore heard about this, and I thought he was going to talk just briefly about one of the parents who spoke. We now know academics has always been here, but safety and security is at that same level. And one of the speakers that he heard back in July was a father of one of the victims at Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School. And when I heard it, it's still gut-wrenching, and I hope we never relax. He said, please, please do your job. A father saying that to all that were in attendance. So we're going to continue to do the job, and then Coach Gore is going to continue for safety and security in this district for the well-being faculty, staff, students, and community. Questions, comments, and then finally approval.
Looks like y'all on top of that. That's probably that gate.
No, that's a Buckeye, sir.
Just when you look at positive school measures, what you guys have done in a year, I mean, there's been a good job, it's been a lot of work, so. Good job, Reese.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and getting all the training and everything done last few weeks. That's great.
Great job on it. It's all about the team and the leadership of our district.
So you need approval from us?
Yes.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Okay. All right. Award a bid for our Willis Elementary playground cover.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First off, before we get into this, I'd just like to say, what Mr. Weber was talking about. I relied heavily on our team in the maintenance department, and they deserve the credit. They worked a lot of hours, and just want y'all to know that.
Thank you.
Now, turn it over to Brandon.
Good morning, board.
Good morning.
In front of you should have a bid tabulation sheet from the Williston Elementary covered playground area, red iron structure. We went out to bid for this, and we sent it out to, I believe, 3 different ones. We only had one show up for the mandatory pre-bid. That's the one that bidded on it. I'm gonna let Breezy talk about the options that you see on the sheet right now.
What we did, originally we bid this out in April of 2017, along with another project. We got the bids back, didn't have the funding to do them. And the reason we bid it at this size originally was to keep both projects on the same square footage. The square footage needed to cover half of the playing court at Wilson Elementary is 60 by 120. We bid it originally, we just used old documents to start with and bid it for the same original size, 75 120, which was 9,000 square foot. And what that would do would leave approximately 15 foot the length of the court under cover, but not, not just over the court. It would have some shaded area offside the court. So we want to bring an option to cover just the half of the playing court to give us some cost. So we bid it out at a 75 by 120 and a 60 by 120. Naturally, The 75 by 120, more expensive. But if you break it down per square foot, the 60 by 120 is more expensive. I don't totally get that, but that's what it is. And there's about $2 more per square foot for the smaller one than the bigger one. And then we also had option for installing security fencing, because if we move forward, this will be done during the school year, which means we're going to have a secure perimeter around the construction site. The reason we wanted them to bid that is because if we're supplying security fencing, then we're liable to have to fence half the world. If they're supplying security fencing, they're going to go with the minimum that they need to work around, because it's a cost, on the job. I was disappointed we didn't get more participation. We had 2 other bidders that were up, they was going to be there. They was going to be there till we got to the mandatory pre-bid. No show. And, we had one from, I think, Dixie County, one from Gilchrist County. I don't know what we can do to get participation up more. I think the part of the problem is when you look at our bid packets, they scare people off, just because of all our requirements. I don't know if we can do anything about that. That's state requirements and statutes. And so it limits the people that's willing to bid. But bottom line, this is where we got. And, if there's no recommendation from us to accept one bid over the other, we only got a bid from one contractor. So I guess we'll leave it up to the board's preference and try to answer any questions you have.
Freezing some of the participation from the outside world too. The hurricanes in West Florida, all the red iron buildings have been backed up. I mean, they're having to rebuild all those in the panhandle, so the whole industry seeing
And,
could be part of the.
and I want to be on record as saying I love that we're getting participation from local
Absolutely.
vendors.
Where are they out of?
Williston, Florida. So that's something to be considered, I know. If you have other questions relating.
So for discussion, I'll move that we option 2 with them doing the perimeter fencing for security. I'll move.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah. I'm gonna start this, and please listen to me before passing judgment on me. I've sat on this board 11 years. From the day I first sat here, Ronson Elementary School has been promised a covered playground. I will be the first to say this is a needed thing in Williston. I'll be the first to say this is a great idea and the kids need it. But for 11 years, that woman back there has been promised one of these coverings. She has been told, when we get done building this school, we'll have the money, we're gonna give it to her. She's been told, when we sell the Bronson High School property, we're gonna get it for you. She was told, when we sell off Little Miss Williston, we're gonna give it to you. We'll have it coming. April of 2017, we took out bids for 2 of these. They were too expensive then, and they're more today. And now, when we discuss it, we got the Williston covered patio, covered playground. And Ronson Elementary School has, well, another project. You ain't even worthy of being called out by name, are you? For 11 years, we've promised something. And I'm the kind of person, if I promise you something, I believe in doing it. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, so don't take it that way. But these are my questions. I guess these are my questions. Where is the list of priorities where we determine who comes first? Where in this process did we jump over Ronson Elementary School and why? So how was it determined who comes first? Next, where's all this money coming from all of a sudden? We've got And this is a concern of mine. Do we have enough money to do this? Because we are fixing to buy some property. We still have a bus loop that we are having to pay a portion of. And now we're looking at 130, call it 130 just for easy, $1,000 for this. We keep doing that. So those are my questions at this, and this is my issue. And Ms. Beecham may want to address that. She may not. But we made a promise. I came up here and I talked to our superintendent. I talked to Ms. Lake about the money and things. And now this promise that was made at least 11 years ago, because that's as far back as my time frame can go, and we're looking at 5 more years before it's even possible. Well, she'll be going to the house. I might be going to the house. Little kids that were told, we're going to get you a covered playground, keep you from getting hot. Going to be graduated, might have kids their own start before this thing happens. That's my issue. Not saying this is not worth it, because it's a needed thing. I agree, it's 100% needed. But those are my questions. How are we going to afford it? Where's this list of priorities? And if such a list does exist or doesn't exist, we need to look at it. We need to look at it so we can discuss, this is a priority, this is a priority, this is a priority. This needs a time frame. So if nothing else comes out of it, when we promise a principal at a school that it is coming, they can look on the list and go, okay, just like we do with building schools. Okay, that one's going to be done. We're second, we're third, it's our turn. Instead of just spinning, being told. Do you have anything you want to add to it, Ms. Beecham?
Mr. Spotman, I know there is a report, that there is a record. I do not remember the name of that report, but I'm sure you probably will be able to tell us that it is a recommendation for years for Ronson Elementary to have a covered playground area. I believe that the one time, some years ago, you and I even, and some other gentlemen walked out on my playground and looked for the spot of where it could be placed.
That was in April of 2017.
Yes.
Oh, well, the bids come in April of 2017. It was prior to that.
We picked a spot out on that playground for it to go and talked about what it would look like and all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then it was asked.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the only thing
I've
I
seen that
can,
report many times.
the only thing I can say to any of that is we're asked to go out to bid for something.
I totally agree.
We don't make the decisions
I
on what to go out to bid for.
I totally agree.
And I don't know, I know stuff's on the 5-year plan. I'm sure that's what you're referring to. And that's something that somebody besides me will have to address, because we get involved when it's time to move forward. So
Madam Chairman.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
have that.
Mr. Hasbro, I was hoping we weren't going to, but here we are. So we did this at the last board meeting, and it kind of is like the air conditioner, you know, at Williston Middle High School. We can't build them all at one time. So we have to put one in and we have to work our way around, right? Okay.
Sure.
And I'm glad you brought up 11 years ago, Mr. Asbell, because 16 years ago in Williston, the Women's Club, which has $6,000 to put towards the project, which will cover the fencing, they started raising money. It's been promised 3 times since I've been on this board that this was going to be done. The PE teacher has been there for 34 years. The school was built in 1993, has been promised since the time she got there it was going to be done. So if we're prioritizing by age and where it was done, then our priorities are right in where we're at and starting at Williston moving forward. It's kind of like when the schools were built. Williston Middle High School was put up and Ronson Middle High School was put up at the same time. And which one did we build first? Ronson. Okay. So what I'm saying, we're in the middle of having a discussion about a project that I know has been going on that our community has helped raise money for 16 years. Okay. So I just want to make sure we have a discussion today that apples to apples and time-wise to time-wise, and like Williston's jumping ahead or whatever. And I'm all about one at the time or both of them at the time we have the money. Now, we want to talk about where the money's coming from. Williston Middle High School money was encumbered in the Chiefland project. Cat's out of the bag. Ronson Middle High School money encumbered in the Chiefland project. Why? Because we had to have the capital to get the project going. Not the case when we started Williston. Okay. Williston Middle School sale was not encumbered in that. There's not one single athletic facility, and the project in Williston is not completed. Not one. The community of Williston built the football field we play on and was donated to it. The baseball field was done and donated. So Williston's sitting back to the end of this to hopefully one day complete the project that we started in Williston while we build the Chief One project. So I understand your frustration from your local community standpoint. I want you to understand the community standpoint from Williston. This project was not designed in 2017 or 19 when that discussion was happening. This goes back 16 years ago when this project was started. So now that you're able to vent yours, I'll vent mine. We'll argue the point.
I appreciate what you're saying. I do. I do not have the ability to go before my time. I'm not as good as you. I don't go back 16, 17 years. I go back as far as my principal has been there. Okay? I go back that far because that's who my reference is. I reference my time frame. But to me, your very argument proves my point. We need a priority list of these projects so that we know, for example, when you get a call from your constituents, hey, when are we going to do this? It's on the list to do this. Right now, I do not possess such list. I have never had a discussion on such list. I think that's something we ought to address. That's the way I feel about it. I think that. And then I think I am concerned how much Williston Middle School so far. I do not know the exact figure. I know it's 300 something.
308,000.
There you go. Is there enough money to do these things we're doing? That's the question.
Ms. Lake can answer that. Can you get her more?
Ms. Lake is on. She's currently mute.
I'm here. I'm just slow on the draw. Sorry. Yes, the land purchase is estimated around 160. So with the covered play area, there is enough money in that those capital dollars. And I want to be clear, those dollars are the only unrestricted capital dollars we have right now. The other capital funds are going towards the building of Chief One Middle High School or getting our district through those 5 years of reduced capital dollars. So I don't want there to be some idea that we just pulled this money out of thin air. This money came to us from the sale of Williston Middle School, and we weren't expecting that school to sell. When those dollars came in, they were earmarked for Williston. Now, I don't set the priorities, but I hope that did answer your questions. Do you have any more for me?
So I didn't quite understand.
Okay.
It's hard to hear.
It's hard to hear.
So our board donated the Williston Middle School property to the school's foundation. That property went up for sale, and then in the process of that, we found from DOE and Office of Inspector General that we had gone off guidance. Another school district had done the same thing, and then they were basically slapped on the wrist by the Auditor General saying, you can't do that. That money has to go back in to capital outlay. So that property was still within the school foundation. The school foundation finally sold that property almost, I guess, close to a year and a half after taking possession of it. And all along, the goal was whatever was sold there, that money was going to be encumbered into Williston community because of where that school was being sold. So $308,000 is what came back to the district. As Ms. Lake said, that money has to be encumbered through capital outlay projects. That's why we ended up with, you've got the McCoy property, and now you have the playground covering where we're at.
And I just, bad hearing, mumble. So how much money did Kim allude to we had the money to pay for it?
So
Yes,
Okay, because I couldn't understand you.
I'm sorry, that's why I'm here.
Well, I'm half dead.
So, and I'll repeat myself because you probably none of you probably heard me. So what happened, and I think Mr. Cowart had already said this part, this was the only funds that weren't embedded or restricted to building Chief One Middle High School. We need to be able to get through those 5 years for operating purposes because we are giving back about $2 million of our LCIF funds to build Chief One Middle High School. So when this $308,000 came in, we earmarked it for Williston so it didn't get scooped up in that project. In the interim, that was, Mr. Lutz not in here, that was the only funds available to buy this property, which is estimated about $160,000. And then the remainder would be used if you approve for this project.
didn't it?
I just didn't want there to be an appearance that money was just found. That's not the way I do business.
Thank you, that does clear that up. And while we were on that discussion, Mr. Edison, can we get a priority list? It seems like, we were asking and we're looking for that.
In the
And so
five-year
that-
survey, there's always projects that you approve every year.
Right.
And then there's things that come on there that you choose to do. For example, 5 years ago, the Chief Middle High School project wasn't on there, but it is now.
Right.
And so the list is on there, and there's a project priority list there, and how you choose to fund things, that's important to see.
I still say, I believe we should have an actual priority list where this would be a fine example, where we go, okay, we know this is coming out for bid. It doesn't just hit us.
Would you
We have that.
re-email?
I get that. I know that list.
5-year survey?
Yes, sir.
Just that. You go ahead.
Guess what I'm understanding from you is not the 5-year survey, what the board and administration deems
Right.
important. most
There's certain
important.
things on there that are always on.
Just
that
like a
5-year
paving
survey.
list at the county.
Yes. Yeah. For lack of a better way of explaining.
Yes.
This is a classic type of activity that can be a part of strategic planning.
Yep.
That you could work off the 5-year survey. And the board could incorporate that and say, for this year, for the next 2 years, this is what we want, the projects we want.
And I like that.
Right, yes, thank you. Is there any other discussion?
One question.
Go ahead.
This is money that if we don't use and earmark, we lose.
No,
No, okay.
no, if you choose not to use it for this project, it will remain encumbered for Williston projects, but at any time, at the board's discretion, it could be used for something different, but it needs to be encumbered for some
If
purpose.
it's not encumbered, what happens to it?
It could be used to build.
Yeah, but if it's not, if we have capital, we have money that's not encumbered in the capital with the building of the Chief Middle High School, what happens to it?
It's used to build.
It goes to the state. It's not-
Yes, I'm sorry, I guess
Yeah, that's right.
it gets used to build cheaper.
So it has to be, right.
Thank you for clearing that up for us too. Is there any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, item F, our COVID-19 guidelines.
Okay, you have within your packet, you have common purpose under and getting more some guidelines. These are guidelines about things that we do as far as our schools and our athletics and everything else. So however you want to do it.
All right.
So in conjunction with our wonderful, wonderful health department partners, I think we become best friends. Not that I didn't like them before now, but I really like them now. So I'm gonna stay away from you for a little bit so I can talk. This is the first packet. This is actually some guidance from DOE that John and Jeff were able to get from a webinar. It is a very good packet, and it's something that we will want to publicize. Go to the second point. There are 4 key points to remember, which we have talked about for months. It's if you see symptoms, if you're experiencing symptoms, stay home, please. Protect the vulnerable. If we do have a case that arises, we're not going to panic. The governor and DOE has said they want us to be surgical, not sweeping, which means in a classroom, if we have a positive student, not to try to send everybody home, but try to send the ones that were in close contact. Depending on the classroom, that may be a little difficult. And communication, and that's what we've been working on. And thank you to Melissa Lewis for doing such a wonderful job with that. We have sent out guidelines, as the mother explained this morning, to our parents to monitor their children. If they see symptoms, if they are experiencing a new symptoms, if they start with a fever, to please keep them home. And we all know that kids are still gonna get the stomach bug. They're still gonna get the flu. They're still gonna have allergies. So not everything's COVID related. However, we have to go with the guidelines we've been given from CDC. Going through this a little bit, let's go down. And Jeannie and Angie can help me with contact tracing. The health department conducts the contact tracing. The school board may be helping with class lists and bus rosters and things like that, but they're going to be the ones that are going to determine who needs to stay home in quarantine. The most important one I wanted to show you was this from, this is a daily home screening. It's the next to last page for students. This came from the Florida Department of Health, and this kind of tells you who is going to be most likely quarantined or isolated, who needs to go for testing. If the testing comes back, what those decisions are. The most important thing that we get the most questions on is if you've been exposed, can you test out of quarantine? Which means if I get a test result and it's negative, can I come back? No, you cannot test out of quarantine because the virus has a 14-day incubation period. So let's say, yeah, if you're exposed today, it's going to be 14 days from the last time you had exposure, because anytime in that 14-day window, you can show symptoms or test positive. That test is just a snapshot in time. So you may be negative today, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be positive later. So that question comes up all the time. If you start displaying symptoms of the COVID virus, we go 10 days from the symptoms start before you can return. So there's a little bit of difference on those dates, and I know that gets confusing. Any questions on that?
Maybe you said it, but if I test positive now, go home for 14 days, do I have to retest to be able to come back in school, or 14 I just come back? Because I hear about these people retesting and they're retesting positive again, and then they're making them stay home and home and home.
No, because there's a great possibility if you test positive and then you test again later, you may test positive again because whatever is still in your symptoms. You just have to go through your window of time. Now, if you're still experiencing symptoms,
right, then
we need to wait for those to dissipate without medication for at least 24 hours.
Ms. Jeannie, is there a level, scientific level, that like you're basically contagious at, we'll just say, 20 milligrams per 1,000 or anything like that? So it's not that?
No, it's not that. The PCR test that they use is very, very specific, and it's very sensitive. So it can pick up a very minute, small piece of the virus, and that's why people can continue to test positive for extended periods of time, but not be infectious at that point.
Okay.
So as long as they have gone through their isolation period, we do not recommend testing again. We release them back into the school.
Gotcha.
And so it's only 10 days if you actually test positive. You don't have to stay out 14, as long as you have improvement of your symptoms and no fever for 24 hours.
And that's 10 days from the date of test, or 10 days?
10 days from either the first date that you had a symptom. If you're asymptomatic, then we go from the test date.
Gotcha.
The only difference from that is if you're immunosuppressed for some reason, then it's 20 days, just because your immune system is depressed, and that can factor into it.
Okay. Yeah, so the last page. Did you get all that, Cameron?
There'll be a
just stay home.
So the last part, I know we've had this question, I know you've had this question about at what point are we going to have to make the decision to close the school? These are just guidelines. We borrowed some information from another school district, and please know that it depends on the school and the situation as to the final determination. It's going to be in conjunction with the health department, the superintendent, and the school board members to make that decision. What we decided on a school closure is 20% of school reporting exposure to COVID-19. And we wanted to say, well, 20% of what? I think what it's going to come down to is staff. We only have a limited number of subs. And if we don't have enough staff members on campus to teach our students, that's where the issue is going to come in. We could have 20% of students not there and still be able to function, but the staff is going to be the key here.
What time frame? From the beginning to the end, 20% or 20%?
At one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
That's a good question.
well, because our numbers we're recording for history is from March the 15th until now. It's not, I mean, I know active cases too, but.
Yeah, no, it would be at one shot. Yeah, it would, one time period, yeah. So,
It's gonna be relative, because some schools can cover more and some schools can cover less, just depends.
so again, this is just the guideline, and just know that this is very flexible depending on the situation in the school and what we're dealing with.
And based on individual schools.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Our next part is our Levy County return to sports. As we know, the Florida High School Athletic Association allowed for sports to start practicing as of yesterday. We felt it was very necessary to come up with guidelines so we are consistent across the district. This was a collaboration between Jeff and John, Adam Gore, who's going to be our new county athletic director. So nice. And some other coaches, and we took what we were given from them and adapted them to to Levy County. So there are some changes, some things that we feel that we can put in place and others may not be feasible, but we wanted to present this to you. So starting with football, because that's going to be our big sport starting this week. As you can notice, probably one of the biggest things is halftime is going to be limited. It was 20 minutes, going to be reduced to 12 minutes. All of this is to try to reduce exposure between the players and staff.
So what does that mean with the bands? They don't travel or they play, or?
They're going to have to be put, yeah.
Big shorter songs.
Yeah.
But what it does mean, I mean, the big issue here is homecomings.
Right.
And so what's gonna have to happen is a lot of your homecoming activities might be pregame. And then they might just have the crowning or during the halftime, because you're not gonna have the big halftime to do all the yada that goes along with homecoming. So you might have a pregame homecoming and then a short halftime homecoming. So.
We're going to have to be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
thing about the bands, and you'll see on there, the visiting, we kind of left that, we recommended visiting bands because everybody's stadium in this county, the visiting side is smaller.
Mhm.
So to meet those requirements, we still left it up to a school administration to make accommodations for a visiting band. But it would have been an issue for visiting bands to come in and still be able to social distance and all that good stuff. So,
But I think most school districts, the bands are not going on.
I was going to say, that's what I thought I saw early from the picture.
Okay. We went through practice plan considerations. A lot of this they've already been doing through, not practice, but there are warm-ups over the summer and workouts, and they're familiar with this. There's some game day considerations, making sure that when we have a football game, we are posting signs that to the fans and the staff members and the players, as much as possible, remember to social distance, recommending wearing a mask and hand sanitizer, making sure you're washing your hands. And not touching your face or your nose or your mouth, those kind of things.
Can I ask a question? What's pods? No more than 9 minute period in pods.
it's just practice groups.
Special.
Yeah.
Lineman.
Yeah. Defensive backs.
I thought we had a new room called pods or something. Just wanted to make sure I understood.
Some of this was worded with Florida High School Association,
That's what I thought.
so we use that terminology.
And Adam was able to collaborate with a couple other districts, and we're doing neighboring districts that are doing about the same thing. So there won't be any surprises.
All of this has been shared, especially with this.
Can I ask a health department question?
Sure.
Is it still, I know at the beginning of COVID, they were saying like above 80 degrees, the virus does not transmit as good. Do we still believe that or not?
I don't think they can definitively say that at this point. Everything changes. It's on a daily basis. We get new updates every day and everything is changing daily, but I have not been.
Okay.
Good question. I know, good question.
It's 105 on the practice field.
It's been so
Exactly.
hot.
Yeah.
Maybe the safest place for our kids.
Right. Well, it is outside. So that we have that going for us. We are encouraging 6 feet social distancing when they're in the stands as much as possible. We're recommending that they wear face covering. But that's, you know,
The helmet count.
no. Good question, though.
So will there be somebody from the school walking around going, y'all don't need to go on the field? I'm just reading things.
Well, the coaches will be, they'll know
Say,
it.
y'all don't go out there and they don't do this, but
Mhm.
we are trusting our trainers that they're all.
Our trainers will be there. They have seen this. Our UF trainers have seen this. Everything's in conjunction with what they're doing also. We've also put volleyball recommendations, cross-country in here. Recommendation from the health department is when we use our gyms to try to keep the windows open so we can create a breeze in the gym. And of course, we're trying to sanitize equipment, hand sanitizer as much as we can. Anything you wanted to add, Jeannie or Angie?
We do have some numbers as to how many kids we have out right now and how
Okay.
many staff. I mean, we can share those if kids are interested.
Let me I think Mr. Edison wanted to get board approval on this. Oh, okay, let me get a board approval on that and then we'll move to numbers if that's okay.
Certainly. Do I hear a motion to approve? I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Appreciate all the work that went into this. So I know it was, especially with the high school stuff, so it was a moving target for a while. And meeting was back and forth. So
I watched the news this morning, and no bashing because I'm a Gator fan, but you know, the news media said it right. University not open up campus because it's just easier and safer. I mean, I understand that all this isn't easy, but to make it work, the best we can make it work. And people willing to do that, I appreciate it because it's easy to just say safer and easier, just not do it. So give our kids some normalcy. Thank you.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other health updates?
I think they were gonna give you some numbers so
Okay.
you can have those most up to date, well, as of right now. Well, I mean, okay, I'll say as of 9:30.
Yeah, those are going to change.
Sure. So I was writing this out in the back because this came fresh off the press from this morning. So just to give you guys an idea, so right now for Lee County Schools, we have 134 students that have either been on a positive or a contact situation for COVID. 24 of those cases have been completed. So we have 110 active cases. Of those 110, 18 are positive COVID cases, and that's across the county. I didn't break it out by school for y'all. Also, we have 3 staff members because of the classroom closure that is out. And Mrs. Beecham shared with me that comes to about 7.8% total staff that is out. No, 7.8 would be the 20% that would close us.
Oh, okay.
And we're currently already at 3.
Right, so she was typing that up. So we've had 2 closures right now. We're in the midst of an investigation right now, football. Anyway, so of one of the closures of the school, we had 17 students dismissed with 3 staff members. That's at one school. At a separate school, we had 26 students dismissed. We had an additional 25 from the bus at the same school. No staff, so that makes a total of 51.
And I think that's it right now. And we are currently in the midst of doing an investigation on a positive case at a school.
And we're trying to be very considerate and thoughtful for every individual case, and we're not just blanketing, okay, all of these are out. We're actually making classroom visits, measurements, seeing who was in close proximity. We were measuring how many feet it was between bus seats yesterday.
I have photo evidence.
Yes.
To decide, we're trying not to send home any more than we absolutely have to, but we want to stay within our guidelines and not have anyone at risk still at school.
And we're working with our epidemiologists on every one of those. When it comes to like a classroom or any of those kinds of investigations, it's not just school health nurses doing that. We bring in the brass. So we're bringing in our epidemiologist from not just Levy, he covers a very great area. So he is come and giving us those guidelines, and we're doing our surgical incisional duty.
Because we've had over 700 positive cases in Levy, since March. So we, it's out there, it's everywhere. And we wanted to thank Kaylee for being so helpful for us. We would not be able to do these investigations if she wasn't doing the part she's doing. She was working till 10 o'clock last night on the bus list.
And Sunday, yes.
So they wouldn't be here at school this morning. So we need to give her this diligence for everything that she's
She's an
doing.
honorary nurse.
She's probably learning a whole lot more than she ever wanted to have.
Yes, yes.
And just for the board's information, been in contact with some of the other school districts that opened up early, and we knew this was coming this week. And we've tried to put in place some of the practices that they said we wish we would have done. Now, we try to do some of this stuff. It's not working as well as we wanted to, but we're going to get on it, but to help with the contact tracing and everything else, and make sure that we're going to be surgical and don't have to take and exclude a bunch of people, because if we have the best information of where the kids were or whomever was positive, then we'll make tracking and tracing a lot easier. So we're working on that, but we did talk with some of our school districts that opened up earlier to see if we can put together some pieces that would help this week go better, and it's kind of sort of work, but.
I didn't eat my Wheaties yesterday, so anyway.
This was somewhat expected.
Yeah.
Yes,
And if
yes.
we know.
It's just a matter of time.
Right, so if ours 10 to 14 days would be our highest exposure, and then after 21, we should start to see it wane. Based on history.
Most of the cases we have right now, the ones that, they're positive contact, they're contacts to a positive. A lot of them are parents. And so.
Symptomatic or not though?
It varies, both about 50-50. But the kids, they're at school and all of a sudden we find out a parent's positive, and we're trying to get them out of the school as quick as we can and all of that. So it's very time consuming, trying to figure out who has been exposed and trying to get them out and keep everybody safe.
And we're trying to go slow, so we're making sure that we're not taking out more than what we have to. So it may seem like, let's just get it done, but we can't, whole goal is to, the whole goal is to try to keep kids in school if we can, and our staff members.
The younger classes, it's a little bit harder, and that's why, the one closure at Ronson Elementary is because of their age group. They're a lot more active, moving a lot around than the middle and high school students. But then the middle and high school students move from classroom to classroom, so therefore you have that problem in there too.
Not to open up a can of worms, but the staff members that are out, were they wearing masks, not wearing masks? Can we?
One was.
One of three.
Okay. And so
But it
even,
was still the proximity to the students.
Well, I understand that there were some.
Right, and you have to be very careful. Medical people and lay people wear masks very differently. If, not to say anything about lay people, but nurses, put your mask on, they don't fiddle with it a lot. Other people do, or you take it down to say something, you take it down to explain something. And that's, was it on all the time? If we can't be 100% sure, then we're gonna have to send them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much,
Yes.
Gary, for
You're
everything.
welcome.
That is wonderful.
And we're working hard to make sure that Chromebooks are getting in place the very next day, Kajits, whatever we can do. So that's going on, make sure that learning doesn't stop in the whole process of this. Okay.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. At this time, we'll resume our meeting. Item G, our 2021 school visits.
I don't necessarily know that you need to approve this board, but every year you go out and you visit different schools, and we just try to rearrange them a little bit. We cannot do all schools within a year, so traditionally what you've been doing is kind of combining them. So I'm throwing this out there for your consideration, and how do you want to do this?
Any discussion?
Looks good to me.
And what I wanted to ask is, do you like the format? We've gone before in the classrooms, and we've visited classrooms, and then I think last year we kind of visited with principals. Do y'all have any other format or way you'd like to do it? Prefer?
I like the way we do it.
With the principal?
Yeah, I know when we first started, we had some real heart-to-heart discussions.
Uh-huh.
And I think it doesn't need to be I think for principals, it doesn't have to be, but it doesn't need to be a show. I mean, what I'm saying is I want to hear about the problems that they have within the school that we help with.
Yeah.
And that would be my reason, other than see the children.
Right.
I like to sit down with the principal, visit with the principal, or whoever they have in there. Sometimes I think they're walking around to the various classrooms. I like what Mr. Ether said. I'm not there for the show. I have friends that teach, and I love to hear from them, but they don't have a problem calling me. And during this time, there's so many things disrupting normal school. I don't think some tie-wearing characters showing up to school is what those kids need. But if I can go to Wilson High School, talk to Mr. Slim, find out what's going on there, I believe our principals, our deans, our assistant principals have their finger on what's going on and what we need to address. And if there is a teacher with an issue, they'll have them there. But to walk around school, because I know having little kids and having gone there and there's little kids see me, there's Mr. Asbell, he's wearing a tie. He never wears a tie. What's going on? And it stops.
Right, he never wears a tie.
He never wears a tie. He's got on pants. What is wrong? So I think what we're doing, we're meeting with the principals and discussing what I think that's the better way to do it. That's what I think. But I do whatever y'all want to do.
Yeah, I like the good discussions with the principal, and Cheryl can help us out there. But it's just that honest, good talk that we have, and not a show, and just so we can address issues, and so we can find out really what's happening in the schools. But yeah, I think that works out great. So if we don't have any other issues or all those dates work, then we'll move forward. Okay, and we don't need approval for.
Go ahead. Vote on these.
Does that need approval?
I move approval of the school visit dates.
Okay. Any other discussion?
We do have a principal and a former principal. What do y'all think? Did y'all think it's more effective to talk to just come see the principal, or to do that? I mean, I don't have a problem you taking me around showing me something, but I don't want to detract from.
It doesn't, the classrooms do not change much from year to year. The children change.
Right.
A lot of the teachers are the same. That time of year, you're going to see the same standard being taught according to curriculum now. Is that what you want to see? Just a typical classroom? Or do you want to talk about issues and things that we may be having?
That's what I want to talk. I want to talk about the issues. I want them to talk about the things you're facing.
Well, I do think there are instances where y'all, different things that y'all need to see. For example, this teaching special needs population. Okay, I don't know that every one of you have been there. If you haven't, you need to be there. Because, I think a lot of our folks in DOE need to be there. But that is something you need to see, because we have to educate all these kids. And so.
It is unique to my school. I have two programs unique to the district. The alternative ed classroom and the intellectually disabled medically fragile classroom. And if you come, you're welcome to see that. Right now, we only have one child coming because of the medical needs and their medical issues. the severity of them, only one that's coming on campus. But, you know, if the day that you come to Ronson Elementary, I'll be glad to show you both those programs. Whatever your preference is.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. And I think, Tammy, I think this is something you'll need to put in your calendar. You have a copy of those. Okay, item H, our request for public hearing. Mr. Edison.
Yes, ma'am. And this is board policy 8.01. It's been advertised, and this is a public hearing, so it's open for public comments. And this is on the safety, and you can see there's two recommendations on there. Both of them are reference to the sister, which is the reporting of crime that we have to do with the Department of Education and different requirements that we have to meet. And so it's up open to public comment, and then I would like to for approval.
Is there any public comment? Any board discussion?
I move the amendment to 8.01 of the safety policy.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. If you read the minutes of the August 3rd meeting? If so, do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. For our consent agenda, we do have one change, and that was, Angela, for the, in the addition to.
Number 30, Patricia Bradley, her resignation is April 14th, 2017.
Okay. I'll start with Mr. Cowart. Any questions?
No, most of mine have been answered, so, and I won't try and steal other people's thunder, so, but appreciate some longtime teachers who have put a lot of time and effort in our students that are moving onward and upward to other positions. So, and also good to see some former students that are matriculating, coming into the job market, taking positions within our school system. So appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. Asple.
Kind of what Mr. Cowart said, I think it's very cool to see several, can't call them kids because they're grown up.
But we think of them as
But
kids.
kids. Coming back to work at their school they went to. That's cool.
That's
I think
right.
that's neat. I think that's awesome, especially. And then to me, what's really cool is if you happen to talk to those people. Some of them did not set out to be teachers. They had other things. And for whatever reason, this is where they are. And you talk to them and there's there's something neat about a person who went to a school, coming back to teach at that school. There's a different feeling there. They want to do their best for it. And I think that's pretty neat. I like that. There's a lot of moving around and good things happening.
That's right.
That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Clemency.
I just have a quick question. The instructional services, the partnership with Florida Virtual, I thought we were just doing that K through 5, K through 12. I thought we were just partnering.
Which number are you on?
E, letter E. The instructional services.
We do this every year.
Okay.
With partnership with them. Doesn't mean we have to use things, we have to have an agreement.
This is not specifically the curriculum purchase video.
Okay, that's separate, two separate things. Okay.
And this just leaves our options open if we need to. For example, several years ago, there was a situation where we had a chemistry teacher go out. And they left us in the middle of the year and let this opportunity, we could use Florida Virtual School to come in as a lab and do some different things. But it's options for the school and school district to use if they need them. But if they don't have a contact with them, you can't do that.
Gotcha. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Etheridge.
A lot of movement, I guess began the school year like always, we see some jumping across county lines, which I don't like to see, but then at the same time, like Ty Barber, that you mentioned, I won't steal your thunder because you were before me, but a good family from Levy County that graduated, came back to school. I think that puts him and his brother both back in that school system, and I think that's great. You know, a lot of times when we see employees leave, you're disappointed, but when you see an employee take an advancement level and move on, you always pat them on the back and tell them congratulations. And Ms. Childs will surely be missed. She was a great asset at Wilson Elementary School, but we'll probably still see some of her work in the future. And as she goes to work with Department of Education, we're excited with her in advancement in her career. So, and then there's still a teacher teaching that started in 1989 when I was at Williston Middle School. Ms. Sprawling is retiring, and you know, we don't have people anymore in the workplace, not necessarily just the school system, that stays somewhere since 1989. That'd be 31 years ago, I do believe she started with us, so I appreciate that. See a lot of new hires and talking to principals. I know there'd be a training process that my granddad always said, a new broom sweeps clean. So welcome the new youth and hope that we have some of those we sit here 30 years from now that's been a part of our system, as long as the ones that are leaving us have been. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'm going to repeat what everybody said, and I'm just so thrilled and happy to see these kids, Cameron, because they are kids, and you know, I've had them in kindergarten and watched them grow up, and I'm just thrilled that they're came back and they're working with our school system. So it's wonderful to see. And then another happy thing that for our taxpayers and for our money is that, you know, our agreement with our resource officers that we're spending less money. And so that's nice, so $25,000 less, and that's great and wonderful to know. And I think that's all that I had for our agenda. The other questions have been answered. Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for our consent agenda. Mr. Edison, comments?
Just a couple of things. People don't know what to do during the summertime. Summertime's actually the Super Bowl time for us. And this year, it was like condensed quarters. With everything going on with the COVID, trying to get everything with the canvas, and all the things that we had to do this year. So my hat goes off to the schools, the principals, administration, district administration, working hard, getting everybody hired. But it was a lot of work, a lot of hours to work, open the doors to see successful as that we just had. So very good. Hats off to a lot of different people with what they've done, because there's a lot of work that you don't see. So, one of the other things that we're working on is trying to make Wi-Fi connectivity at our schools more accessible to the public. And Morgan, if you want to kind of comment on that a little bit.
Sure. We had an opportunity from one of our longtime vendors who had a program where they had the opportunity for us to receive some donated exterior Wi-Fi units. And so we were able to jump on that, and I want to compliment a couple people in my department because they heard about it, and within about 20 minutes we had a purchase order on, which is what they needed to process the application for the units. We have received notifications that those 10 exterior Wi-Fi units should ship this Friday and should be here this next week. So the goal for that is in our discussion has been to look at using those in the parking lot areas of our schools. So that we have another option for people that need to have some access to Wi-Fi in some of the difficult situations they may find themselves in. So, you know, I don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched because they haven't shipped yet, but all indications are next week we should be able to get those 10 units. We also have continued to have discussions and are planning for how we want to use the Cradle Point bus hotspots that we got in conjunction with the Benton County Schools Foundation. And one of the discussion points that we've had most recently is to perhaps look and see if we can find some organizations or businesses within each of our communities that have bigger shaded parking areas where we could potentially station those buses for periods of time if need be to help with some of the students that may be out and need assistance with internet connectivity. Now, we do have Jeeps, we have a very limited number of them, and so we're trying to use those as strategically as we can for the students that need the most. And we're working through that with Kaylee and the Department of Health. So those, we actually do have some of those that have already been deployed this year for some of those situations. So we're doing what we can, and hopefully we can get these hotspots and make a little bit more of a difference in the schools.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Edison. We'll go to board comments, and I'll start with Mr. Etheridge.
I'll be quick. I just want to say thanks to everyone because I think I said it earlier, it's not, the easy way out of this is not the productive way out of this, and I appreciate the digging and the work and the sweat and tears. And we're not over, I mean, it's not over by any means. The roughest is probably right around the corner, and the toughest decisions and the hardest work to make it continue are probably right around the corner, which should be expected, understanding the virus. So I want to thank everybody. I mean, you look who stepped in right in the middle and see who stepped up, and we have other counties who've taken easier way outs, and I appreciate the administration and people not just taking the easy way out. That's it.
Same. I feel the same way. I feel like leading up to day one of school starting, there was almost like a frenzy of teachers emailing, text to everybody, and then I just feel like there's a calmness. And I've seen a lot of teachers interacting with, I got an email last night about a math teacher in, I think it was Ronson, helping one of our math teachers in Yankeetown. And there's a lot of work going on, and there's just such a, I don't know, we all know what's probably coming, but we're going to work our way through it, and it's fluid, and I just have a good feeling about everything. And Yankeetown ramp was already mentioned in the 0-point entry, and it's amazing. I saw it, so thank you to everyone, Breezy, under you. And just moving forward, I mean, our big, I know we prioritize, I can't remember how many that we put on the list as far as legislative issues that we need to focus on. But chief one, safety, I feel like we're in a good direction, but like thinking, Morgan, what you just said, doing the best we can as far as, I think internet connectivity is so big for us. I think that we really need to prioritize that. I mean, when you put it into perspective that kids in Levy County are going to have to drive to a bus hotspot to get internet, that's a big issue. So I think we might need to focus on that a little more coming up, but that's all I have.
Thank you.
Let's talk good and bad. I think so far, one of the big things at Ronson High School that we were concerned about was the change of drop-off in the morning. Going into it, everybody's a little concerned, we'll have to learn a new way, and I would be crazy not to compliment what has gone on, and the new drop-off system over by the gym and circling through the parking lot works. I think it works better than the old drop-off. That thing has been smooth as silk. I think the folks over there handling that have done an outstanding job. That should be complimented. I've had several calls from parents, and then if you happen to look on social media, we have teachers that are talking about this. Some are struggling with Canvas. How's the training on Canvas going? I mean, I'd love to sit here and say everything's sunshine, and happiness, and unicorns and rainbows, but the reality is a lot of people, and I'm not saying not just everybody, I mean some really educated, super smart, some computer nerds are having struggles with it. I am fortunate in that I have a computer nerd in my house who's 17 years old and has been using Canvas in his dual enrollment classes, and he will look at it and go, "This ain't Canvas like I was using. I got to figure this out." And so as parent of two other children, I'm struggling with it, and I know some teachers are struggling with it. So what's the feeling out there, or is this something let's just don't talk about it? How dare you bring that up?
If I can speak to that, our goal was to, we took the extra week that was granted in order for teachers to prepare. And then to allow teachers to implement their plan. So, through last week and then moving through this week. And then what I hope to do was to reach out to our teachers and ask, as things are beginning to settle more, because that's our big thing right now, is there's been so many movements of options of trying to let the water settle so that teachers knew what to expect now, now that, hopefully their rosters begin to settle, so that we could then move forward of what do you need? What have you found to be working, and what have you found to still continue to be difficult? And then a goal was to, pool our teachers together, maybe some of our lead teachers from each campus, to share how they're doing it, because I think we went through the training and everybody took their methods and then they went to their campuses, and each campus may be collaborating in a little bit of a different way. But I think it's important to listen to our teachers and watch with other campuses at the table too, to watch how each campus is implementing it, because I feel like there is a difference. And maybe some are doing it the hard way, but we won't know that until we watch each other and see how you're doing it. So that sounds very complicated if you haven't actually, ran for campus yourself as a teacher. But that's where kind of like the next step. Let it settle. Let's see, what are we still struggling with? What are our strengths? And then how do we support schools across the district to choose the easier way to work through Canvas? Because what they may be doing is just what they latched onto, and it was what was working for them at the time, but there may be an easier way to do it. So that's the goal.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Haskell, I will say that at Ronson Elementary, I still have some teachers that are struggling. I'm having a meeting this afternoon with my blended and virtual teachers to be able to bring them together to try to figure out what the issues may be and how they can go back and support the other teachers on their grade level team. Right now with school going, I sent 2 teachers to the train the trainer type training that was July 29th and 30th. And so, but now they're in classrooms, and it's hard for them to get around and see other teachers because they have their own classrooms and doing that. So I'm bringing them together periodically to try to support them, and let's brainstorm. Let's see, what is Joyce Bullock doing? What is Wilson Elementary, Chiefland Elementary? What are they doing to make this easier? So it's a work in progress. Last week they were very concerned, and I said, guys, we're just going to live through this week. A lot of students changing from one option to another. I've been allowing them to do that because we need our students to come back to us. If we don't, we're just digging that hole deeper if we don't allow them to come back as quickly as possible. So it's just we just need that time to kind of let the dust settle, and then let's say, okay, what's not working for you, and if anybody else had this problem, can you help us? You figured out a way, and you show them. So that's what we're trying to do at the school level, is to support our teachers and then find them the help that they need, plug that in.
If a parent is having trouble with Canvas, do they contact the individual schools? Do they call up here? Is there, for example, at Ronson Elementary School, if I have a problem, I'm a parent, and I don't know how to work this Canvas, who would I call at Ronson Elementary School? Who do I need to talk to?
Well, you need to talk to your child's teacher.
Talk to the specific teacher.
Talk to that teacher. And then, of course, if you're not getting, the right feedback from that teacher, you call me. But I've had a parent that has been struggling, and we have offered for them to come in and meet with the teacher one-on-one, wearing masks, whatever, the social distance, so that we can walk her through it. We've tried walking them over the telephone multiple times. They're still struggling. Come in, we'll show you face to face what to do.
Okay. And I would assume same thing at a middle high school, you contact the school.
We've shared some stuff through the web, through our school board Facebook about Canvas and contacting, but I think that's kind of been the throughout the district. As an individual parent has a problem, contact that teacher.
I would think, but the whole reason I ask that, it may seem silly to ask the question, but the whole reason I ask this question is it's videotaped. Somebody is watching this right now, and that gets it out there and says, hey,
the more
This is
ways.
what you do. We'll jump off that horse.
Can I share one other thing about
Sure.
collaboration across the district? We've got 8 different documents, shared documents that our teachers have access to. So in elementary, there's a grade level document for each grade level, and for those documents, the grade level teachers across the district are invited to it. And what we're doing within the K-5 documents are for regular option 1 classroom teachers. It is a place to share resources, share practices, share videos, if they're creating, integrity videos, phonics videos, that they can share their YouTube channels or whatever, just to spread the wealth across the district. Then for elementary, there's a blended and virtual specific document, which is much more lengthy because there's a lot more, Canvas type things that attendance, there's different things that affect them. So anytime something is added to that, the person adds who they are, what they have to add, and then there's a way to email all the collaborators in the document. So anytime it's updated, they get a message that says something's been added. And then for secondary, there's one document that all teachers are invited to. That's the same kind of thing that elementary has by grade level, but it's secondary based. So just a way to get information out to teachers, for them to share what's working, share what's not working. We had one teacher post the problem, like, I'm having trouble with, this with Florida Virtual, with discussion-based assessments. Can somebody help? So it goes out to everybody. Somebody read it, found, knew of a way to answer that problem, and then put the response in there for everybody to see. So
that's great.
Excellent. We also just want to invite all y'all. Don't know what anybody else's schedule is. September 4th, Bronson will have its first home football game. September 4th, Friday night. It's also senior night. We have a backup senior night, but we're going to go ahead and do senior night a little quick this year, just in case. So we'd like to invite all y'all that. And then on September the 8th will be Bronson Middle School's first football game, a home football game. And that's about the first time in 2 years. So there's more participation this year. And they're looking forward to exciting things. I say that now. That's school board member Cameron Asbell. Parent Cameron Asbell wants to tell you this. I have an idea who I need to go shake the hand of. But not sure, but I'm going to find out. I am receiving more communication from Bronson Middle High School currently than I have the whole time my children have attended Bronson Middle High School. And that's not disparaging on any prior administrations or anybody else that's there. They are doing a wonderful job of keeping parents up to date on daily goings on. I do not have a daughter, so I don't have a cheerleader, and I do not have a volleyball player. But I am made aware of it, and I think this is excellent. I have harped for years that communication is the key, and they are doing a wonderful job. So whoever is sending all those messages out, we are being very much made, parents of Bronson Middle High School are being made very much aware of what's going on out there. Be it, you might get that text and go, man, I don't care about that. As parent, I like knowing these things, and as school board member, I like seeing that communication. And I think, I believe that might have a lot to do with Miss Bray. I believe she's been put in charge of that, but it is excellent, better than it's ever been. And I greatly appreciate it, appreciate their work. And that's all I got. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you. Mr. Cowart?
Ms. Clemency, did you have something that you wanted? I saw you wanted to tack on something. Yeah, sure. Okay. Things are going well, and we know that we're kind of, no pun intended, kind of going into the eye of the storm, and we dodged a bullet here recently with the 2 storms. So, and thank you, Lord, we're appreciative of that. So, but I've witnessed firsthand teachers from 3 communities coming together, working on a subject area in Canvas. And I think that the more that we can do that throughout the district to help each other, the better off it will be, and to make things, we don't all have to invent the wheel. We can just, use the wheel that somebody else has used and put it on our car and roll on. So just appreciate that. Appreciate Mr. Edison and our district level staff. So just all the effort that went in to get last week to run smooth. And we know and appreciate you reaching out to other districts and seeing what they're doing and how they would have changed, and us kind of using that to evolve a little bit and make some changes to help things run a little bit smoother in Levy County. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Joe Wayne I had a parent that was in a community that said they had tried to get a hold, and I guess our phones had been down through lightning strikes, and we know how that happens with us. So I sent a text message. I gave him the phone number, and it was on a Sunday afternoon, evening. So he took care of that problem of making sure the mama wanted to know what bus her child was going to be on, and just appreciate you taking care of that. So, and with that, I'm done.
All right, thank you. I just want to say how much we appreciate the communication and updates with the COVID and the issues, and just letting board members know too, what's happening and with the schools. And I get a lot of just texts or messages and people being concerned about classes and kids and students. So just having that communication and what all we're doing is very, very helpful. So thank you for everybody doing that and keeping us up to date. Chiefland High School, everything went smooth last week. They reported, and that all teachers have been hired. Chiefland Elementary, they said the breakfast in the classroom is going great, and they're doing wonderful with the social distance with the lunch. I've had quite a lot of calls about the pickup drop-off at Chiefland Elementary, which is an ongoing problem for years and years and years. But with just having to wait, it's even more of a problem. So if there's any way we can address this.
Well, I just FYI, I had Adam and Dennis and get with the school resource officers to try to figure it out.
Right.
Quite honestly, this, I think, Chief Elementary's issue is something that's, there's things that are called problems and there's dilemmas. And sometimes you just can't fix it.
I mean, it was backed up way on.
I know in the beginning of the year, the first week of school, I don't care what community you go to, that's the way it's going to be a problem. So I know that we try to do some things to exit, so we don't have some people exiting and competing with getting out and showing us on the line. But all I can say is that folks, the administration there, the SROs that are working there, us, and we work with the road department. We're open to some different solutions, but I don't know what it is. So it's whatever they can do, but right now I just don't know what that is.
Right. Yeah, it is, but it still
I can tell you, I was at
continues to be a problem.
the first one. It was down to C-32. So.
And it's continued to be that way because more parents are dropping their children off.
Right, and it does make it a problem.
Yesterday, all kindergartners were there for the first
Right.
time. So that backed it up still.
Right.
Yes, we've been down 32 on the shoulder of the road, the cars have been. But it has gotten, last week it got quicker and quicker every day. Now yesterday, it took us longer again because all those kindergartners were here. But already this morning, we were cutting minutes off of our time. So.
Right, and I think that's what I heard too. I thought we did a lot with the kindergartners too, and that's important. Kindergarten, it's a great year.
Yeah. So, I mean, just getting them out of the car.
Right. Right, it's an issue.
They're still in a car seat, and getting them unbuckled, and we don't want parents getting out of the car, so we're literally opening the door, unbuckling the car seats, picking the child up, and they're trying to get their backpack, saying, here, let me hold your backpack, let me get you out of the car, I'll get you on the sidewalk, then we'll get you backpack back on, and getting them handed off to the next adult to get them to the right place, because we're having to do it all. It's just time consuming.
And I can tell you, there's a lot of reasons, objectives that we have at school. The first week of school is you want to get them to the classroom, but the most important thing is getting them home. So you got to make sure that you get them out, get them safe where they're going to go. You don't want to ever lose a kid, and then you want to know how to get them home. And that's a process.
I was asked last week, did we have a successful day? I said, yes, we did. We got them here, we fed them twice, and we got them home. It was a successful day.
Yes, that's right. And I know in the past that administrators have ridden the bus. Did that happen this year?
I haven't talked about it, but it's not unusual for that to happen.
Or some of them. I mean, some of the district staff here. Did that happen this year?
I've done it personally, so
Right.
I write somewhere else a year.
Yeah, but not beginning of school this year.
I'm not going to do it at the beginning of school. There's bus drivers don't get together. Good.
Right. Okay, that's all I have. If there's not, Mr. Tony? No. Mr. Terry?
curious how many teachers are what they call double teaching, where they're teaching face-to-face as well as either virtual or blended. How many, do we know how many teachers are doing both?
Mr. Edison?
Let's say you have about, or two.
We have been working on that, and we have been talking to our administrators as we had the conversation with Melanie this afternoon, addressing that. Actually, that is changing almost several times a day because we're finding the trend. A lot of our virtual and blended kids are actually coming back to the classroom, so those numbers are constantly changing. But I know in the elementary schools, there's every school has maybe 2 or 3 teachers right now that are maybe teaching classroom in blended or blended and virtual. So there's a little combination right there going on. But they're actually differentiating their instruction as they're doing that. So when we've got that going on in high school, it's a little different.
So you don't really have any numbers yet?
You don't have numbers yet.
It keeps changing.
Talked about a while ago, you have parents put in their mind about how they want their kids served. So you got more and more kids that are coming back to the brick and mortar, so therefore they're not doing with it. So.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that's important to communicate to teachers. I think it's better for the child to be live, and I think it's better for the teacher because the teacher is not having to do both. So the more we can get back in the classroom.
I know Mr. Locke, just when we were having the conversation, trying to get a handle on this Friday afternoon maybe, he had 3 changes right there while we were sitting there. Kids moving from one to the other, so it's just like, it's just constantly moving.
How long do they have to make a decision?
Generally, we have like, if you think about going to college, you have a dropout period. I think this week is the last week.
Some schools have cut that off, so the class size has created the deadline at some schools, because as kids have started to come back, teachers have been assigned to serve different options, and as decisions were changed, that has caused, a reorganization of teachers, but at some point, we gotta stop it, so we have publicized, if you're in blended, you're making a 9 weeks commitment. If you're virtual, you're making a semester commitment. But here at the very beginning, we have made some adjustments because we do want kids to be in option 1 if possible. So that's basically what the goal has been, is to, if they're making that choice, let's try to get them to that and then make adjustments to our class teacher assignments so that we can let the dust settle again. So that we can fix what we can fix, because, our goal is, our goal was to have teachers teaching 1 option, but as parents made decisions, then schools have to make decisions on how to serve that, so.
I think Wilson High School actually has established a cutoff. I think
They cut theirs off.
Yes.
That's Friday.
I think Ronson cut off Friday.
But they've informed their parents via remind of when they were gonna shut it off, and then when they did shut it off.
Thank you. There's no other comments, meeting adjourned.